Welcome, friends, to a peaceful journey through the timeless universe of Dragon Ball. Tonight, we won't be racing through battles or shouting over power levels. Instead, we'll move slowly, drifting through the quiet corners of its story, the history, the mysteries, and the small, fascinating details that make this world so endlessly alive. From Saiyan legends to divine realms, from the laughter of Goku to the silence of Zeno, each moment will unfold softly, one fact at a time. Let these stories wash over you like starlight, gentle and warm. Feel the rhythm of memory and imagination blending together, carrying you deeper into rest. This is not a journey of excitement, but of calm, wonder, a chance to fall asleep in the glow of a world filled with energy, friendship, and peace. If you enjoy this bedtime voyage, please consider subscribing and tell me, where are you listening from tonight? The seed of Dragon Ball was planted when Toriyama drew inspiration from the Chinese novel Journey to the West. In that story, a mischievous monkey king wields a magical staff, travels with companions, and embarks on adventures that mix humor with spiritual lessons. Toriyama did not simply copy the tale but reshaped it, turning Sun Wukong into Son Goku, a boy with a tail and a pure heart. The echoes remain the staff, the cloud, the adventurous journey, but softened into a world all its own. When Dragon Ball began serialization in Weekly Shonen Jump in 1984, it was not the fierce martial arts epic people know today. Instead, it was playful, filled with comedy, odd inventions, and quirky characters. Toriyama's earlier work, Dr. Slump, had been pure gag humor, and those roots carried over. Early Dragon Ball was filled with silly misunderstandings, bizarre machines, and a world that seemed more curious than dangerous. Toriyama originally imagined Goku as a boy who might not even be human, and his first sketches gave him a much wilder appearance. The tail was a direct nod to the Monkey King, while his spiky hair made him instantly recognizable, even in silhouette. What's obscure is that Toriyama added the spiky hair, partly because it was easier to draw and, more importantly, easier to reproduce consistently by his assistants. Simple, yet iconic, Goku's design was born from both creativity and practicality. The magical Dragon Balls themselves were not planned as the centerpiece of the story, but as a tool to drive the adventure. Toriyama once explained that he included them so characters would have a reason to travel and explore. They provided a loose thread to string together journeys, encounters, and battles, that they later became central to the lore. Objects capable of reviving the dead and shaping destinies was an evolution that surprised even the author. When Dragon Ball was first announced, many readers and editors were unsure how well it would do. Toriyama was famous for comedy, not action, and a martial arts-themed story with fantasy elements seemed risky. The first chapters received modest attention, but by the time the Tenkaichi Budokai tournament appeared, interest had exploded. The mixture of humor, heart, and fighting was something fresh, and the series quickly transformed into a cornerstone of Shonen Jump. Dragon Ball was not the only title considered. Toriyama and his editors went through several working names, some directly referencing the Monkey King, and others highlighting the magic of the Dragon Balls. In the end, Dragon Ball was chosen for its simplicity. It was easy to say, easy to remember, and carried a sense of mystery. Fans today cannot imagine the series by any other name, yet it was once nearly something entirely different. Toriyama has admitted in interviews that he often made up details week by week. Instead of plotting everything in advance, he enjoyed surprising himself. The world of Dragon Ball grew organically. Islands, deserts, and futuristic cities appearing whenever the story needed them. This improvisation explains why the setting feels so strange and diverse, with dinosaurs roaming beside high-tech capsules and old martial arts masters living just across the sea from bustling metropolises. One obscure but amusing detail is that Toriyama disliked drawing mechanical things, even though Dragon Ball is filled with them. Cars, planes, and Capsule Corp's strange devices were often inspired by his love of machines in real life, but he found them tedious to draw week after week. To cope, he used assistants and simplified the designs. Ironically, these quirky, rounded machines became part of the series' charm, making the world feel whimsical and unique. The Eternal Dragon, Shenron, appeared earlier than many expected, summoned within the very first story arc. His design was carefully chosen to resemble traditional Asian dragons, long and serpentine rather than Western, winged creatures. What's obscure is that Toriyama wanted Shenron to feel majestic but also approachable, a figure that fit within a humorous story while still carrying weight. Shenron's debut showed that the Dragon Balls truly were magical, capable of bending reality. Perhaps the most surprising fact is that Toriyama did not originally intend Dragon Ball to last as long as it did. Like many manga, it was expected to run for a short arc, maybe 1 or 2 years at most. Yet the growing popularity meant the story stretched far beyond its playful beginnings. What started as a gag-filled adventure slowly became one of the most beloved sagas in manga history, shaping decades of anime to follow. Unlike many heroes of fantasy who are born into palaces or great cities, Goku's story begins in the quiet wilderness. Raised by his adoptive grandfather Gohan in a small house tucked into the mountains, Goku's world was filled with rivers, trees, and wild animals. He grew up away from civilization, learning survival through play, fishing with his tail, and carrying water with cheerful effort. This natural upbringing gave him his innocence. He saw the world with wonder rather than suspicion. Goku's weapon of choice in those early years was the power pole, a magical staff capable of extending to incredible lengths. Few new fans realized that the staff itself was a direct reference to Sun Wukong, the Monkey King of Chinese legend. In Dragon Ball's early stories, the power pole was not just a fighting tool, but also a way for Goku to cross great distances or escape danger. Its playful, exaggerated stretches made battles feel like a mixture of martial arts and cartoon fun. One of the earliest gifts Goku received was the flying nimbus, a magical cloud given to him by Master Roshi. Only those pure of heart could ride it, and Goku, with his innocent nature, was among the very few who could. He rode the nimbus with laughter, soaring above forests and rivers, the wind in his hair. The nimbus was more than transportation. It was a symbol of Goku's purity, a reminder that even in a world filled with greed and power, a kind heart could still shine. At first, Goku's tail was treated like a funny quirk, something that made him different but not especially important. He used it to balance, to fish, and sometimes as a playful tool in fights. Yet the tail would later reveal his true origins as a Saiyan, a warrior from the stars. In these early days, though, it was simply part of who he was, a little boy with a monkey's tail, running barefoot across the wilderness. Goku's life changed forever when he met Bulma, the brilliant inventor who was searching for the Dragon Balls. Their meeting was awkward and funny, with Bulma baffled by Goku's innocence and Goku confused by her strange gadgets. Together, they set out on a journey that would define the rest of the story. Their partnership balanced curiosity with knowledge, innocence with technology, and it showed that even the strangest friendships could shape history. What set young Goku apart was his naivety. He did not understand money, machines, or even the concept of romance. To him, the world was simple. Food was good, training was fun, and friends were to be trusted. This innocence often led to misunderstandings, but it also made him fearless. He approached every challenge with the same wide-eyed curiosity, whether it was fighting a giant dinosaur or exploring a city for the first time. Goku's first formal martial arts training came from Master Roshi, the hermit master of the Turtle School. Roshi's lessons were not only about strength, but about discipline, patience, and balance. Carrying milk crates up hills, plowing fields with bare hands, and dodging bees were some of the unusual methods Roshi used to teach him. Goku absorbed every lesson with enthusiasm, turning chores into adventures. This training shaped him into the warrior he would later become, but in the beginning, it was just part of his playful journey. The Tenkaichi Budokai tournaments were among Goku's earliest great adventures. Facing opponents stronger and more skilled than he had ever seen, he fought with determination and joy. Even in defeat, Goku smiled, excited to grow stronger. These tournaments introduced the rhythm of Dragon Ball contests of strength, filled with spectacle, humor, and lessons about perseverance. For Goku, they were not about winning, but about testing himself against the world. Although he often seemed unstoppable, young Goku did not win every battle. He lost matches, faced enemies too powerful for him, and sometimes had to retreat. These moments of defeat were important, teaching him humility and reminding him that strength must be earned. Instead of discouraging him, losses made him hungrier to train and improve. This early resilience became the foundation of his growth throughout the series. One of the simplest yet most endearing traits of Goku, even as a child, was his bottomless appetite. He could devour mountains of food in a single sitting, often leaving friends astonished. This trait, while funny, also showed his Saiyan heritage, as Saiyans required great amounts of food to fuel their energy. For the audience, it was a reminder that no matter how powerful or unusual he became, Goku's heart was still that of a cheerful boy who simply loved to eat. Bulma is one of the most enduring characters in Dragon Ball, and she has been present from the very first chapter. Her role as an inventor, adventurer, and sometimes reluctant companion made her stand out in a world filled with martial artists and warriors. What many overlook, however, are the quiet details about her creations and the company behind her. Capsule Corporation. Bulma's family company, Capsule Corp., was based on one revolutionary invention, the Hoi Poi capsule. With a click and a toss, a tiny pill-like device could unfold into a house, a vehicle, or even a full laboratory. This concept gave the world of Dragon Ball its whimsical, futuristic atmosphere, and it also reflected Akira Toriyama's fascination with playful technology. Few fans know that Toriyama himself admitted he enjoyed creating machines that looked round, simple, and slightly unrealistic, because it made them more fun to draw. One of the charming details about Bulma's character is that she was modeled in part on Toriyama's own wife, who was known for her cleverness and confidence. Bulma's intelligence, combined with her fiery personality, gave her a rare depth for a supporting character in a shonen story. While Goku provided action and innocence, Bulma provided wit, sarcasm, and invention, keeping the narrative grounded in everyday concerns even when the battles grew cosmic. The capsule house, which Bulma frequently used on her adventures, had a design that was instantly recognizable. Shaped like a round dome, with smooth walls and minimal edges, it looked almost alien compared to ordinary houses. Inside, however, it was comfortable, complete with a kitchen, bathroom, and all the conveniences of modern life. This balance of futuristic exterior with homely interior captured one of Dragon Ball's ongoing themes, the blending of the ordinary with the extraordinary. Another obscure detail is that Capsule Corp's technology was meant to explain why characters could carry huge objects with them on journeys. Rather than relying on magic, Toriyama gave a scientific explanation. Everything could simply be compressed into a capsule. This playful use of soft science became a trademark of the series, allowing for a mix of comedy, logic, and imagination. Bulma herself demonstrated her brilliance repeatedly. She repaired Goku's broken dragon radar, a device she originally invented to detect the faint electromagnetic signals of Dragon Balls. This tool was the key to the earliest story arcs, guiding the heroes from one adventure to the next. Without the radar, the Dragon Balls would have remained scattered and nearly impossible to find. That one invention essentially created the possibility of the series itself. Her ability to adapt technology also showed in how she interacted with alien cultures. When the heroes traveled to Namek, Bulma quickly modified Earth-made equipment to function in a completely different environment. She was never simply along for the ride. Her presence gave the group the tools they needed to survive. In this way, Bulma represented human ingenuity, standing alongside the raw power of martial artists. Capsule Corp itself was portrayed as a family business, though the true genius was Dr. Brief, Bulma's father. With his laid-back personality and ever-present pet cat, he seemed casual to the point of eccentricity. Yet his inventions shaped the world, from flying cars to the shrinking capsules that defined modern life. This mixture of brilliance and nonchalance created an amusing contrast. In Dragon Ball, even the greatest genius could be found lounging with a cigarette, tinkering as if the fate of the world were just another hobby. Master Roshi, the turtle hermit, is one of the oldest and most fascinating figures in Dragon Ball. At first glance, he is a comical old man who hides behind sunglasses and makes silly remarks. But behind the humor lies one of the greatest martial artists in the world. His role is not only to train Goku and Krillin, but to preserve and represent the traditions of martial arts in the Dragon Ball universe. Roshi is said to be over 300 years old, a remarkable age explained by his possession of an elixir of life. This longevity gave him time to develop his turtle school style, which emphasized endurance, discipline, and clever technique. Unlike many fighters in the series who relied on brute power or natural gifts, Roshi's teachings revolved around hard work, patience, and understanding the flow of energy. His age, instead of being a weakness, became a symbol of wisdom. One of Roshi's most famous teachings was the emphasis on balance. He did not simply train Goku and Krillin to fight. He taught them to carry milk crates across long distances, to plow fields by hand, and to endure the strain of everyday labor. These tasks might have seemed silly, but they were carefully designed to strengthen the body and spirit in ways beyond simple combat. For Roshi, martial arts was a way of life, one that included discipline in every action. The origin of his signature move, the Kamehameha, is also steeped in history. According to the lore, Roshi spent 50 years developing the technique, learning to concentrate his life energy into a single blast of power. When he first demonstrated it, the beam destroyed an entire mountain, proving that even an elderly master could command extraordinary strength. The Kamehameha later became a defining ability of the series, passed down from Roshi to Goku, and then to generations of fighters after him. Roshi's connection to animals also reflects his identity as the turtle hermit. His companion, a talking turtle, appears humorous at first, but it is a reminder of his philosophy: slow, steady growth, patience, and wisdom. Unlike fighters who rushed for power, Roshi emphasized steady progress. The turtle symbol became his mark, emblazoned on the uniforms he gave his students, carrying forward the message of his school. His home, the small pink cane house, sits isolated on a tiny island. The design itself is whimsical, yet it reflects his nature as a hermit, removed from society, living quietly until students seek him out. The house is both comical and iconic, instantly recognizable with its bright color and small size, standing alone against the wide sea. For fans, it became a place of comfort, where lessons and laughter always waited. In martial arts tournaments, Roshi showed not only his wisdom but also his cunning. During the very first Tenkaichi Budokai tournament, he entered under the disguise of Jackie Chun, wearing a wig and pretending to be a different person. He did this not to win glory, but to ensure that his students did not grow overconfident. By defeating Goku himself, he reminded the boy that there was always someone stronger and that the path of martial arts had no end. This act of humility and guidance set the tone for how martial arts were viewed in the series, not as a quest for domination, but as a lifelong pursuit of improvement. Though Roshi often appears comedic, with his obsession for magazines and his eccentric behavior, his influence is deeply serious. Without him, Goku and Krillin would never have learned the foundations of martial arts. His training created the rhythm of discipline and humor that defined the early Dragon Ball years. Even as the series moved toward cosmic battles and gods of destruction, the memory of Roshi's lessons lingered, a reminder of where the journey began. His long life also connects him to the wider history of martial arts in the Dragon Ball world. Roshi trained under Master Mutaito, a legendary figure who once sealed away King Piccolo using the evil containment wave. This connection shows that Roshi is part of a much older tradition, carrying forward the teachings of an ancient generation. Through him, the characters and the audience glimpse the idea that every technique, every fight, is part of a lineage stretching back far beyond the current story. Another overlooked detail is that Roshi's strength, though often hidden, remains immense. Even late into the series, he is capable of incredible feats when the moment requires it. His presence in the Tournament of Power, where he relied not on overwhelming energy but on strategy, endurance, and skill, reminded viewers that martial arts is not just about raw strength. It is about the calm mastery of oneself, the wisdom of experience, and the ability to outthink as well as outfight opponents. In the end, Master Roshi embodies the roots of Dragon Ball, humor blended with wisdom, small lessons that blossom into great achievements, and a respect for traditions that give meaning to battles. His role as teacher, hermit, and guardian of martial arts makes him one of the quiet cornerstones of the story, his legacy carried forward in every Kamehameha fired by those he trained. The earliest chapters of Dragon Ball were filled not only with adventure and humor, but also with villains who gave the young heroes their first true challenges. These figures may not have had the overwhelming strength of later enemies like Frieza or Cell, but they carried their own unique charm, mystery, and danger. Each one shaped the tone of the series, teaching Goku and his companions lessons about courage, perseverance, and the balance between innocence and cruelty. One of the first villains to appear was Emperor Pilaf, a small comical figure with grand ambitions. Pilaf dreamed of ruling the world, and he saw the Dragon Balls as his path to power. Though he was never truly a match for Goku's strength, his cunning plans and strange inventions created some of the earliest moments of tension in the series. His castle, filled with traps and bizarre machines, reflected Toriyama's love of humor blended with danger. Pilaf's presence also introduced the idea that the Dragon Balls, though magical, could easily fall into the wrong hands. Pilaf was rarely alone. He was always accompanied by Mai and Shu, his loyal if bumbling subordinates. Mai, with her calm demeanor, provided a sharp contrast to Pilaf's frantic energy, while Shu, the anthropomorphic dog ninja, added comic relief. Together they formed a trio that may have seemed foolish, but they represented something important: ambition unchecked by wisdom. Their presence reminded readers that power alone did not make a villain. Threatening determination, even in a comical form, could still cause great trouble. As the story progressed, the Red Ribbon Army emerged as one of the most significant early threats. Unlike Pilaf, they were not comical villains, but a militarized force that spread across the world. Their soldiers wore uniforms, carried weapons, and controlled entire territories. Their bases appeared in deserts, jungles, and even under the sea, giving the world of Dragon Ball a sense of scale and danger it had not yet seen. The Red Ribbon Army represented organized ambition, a step beyond the childish dreams of Pilaf. General Blue, one of the Red Ribbon Army's officers, stood out with his refined manners and peculiar psychic powers. Unlike the simple soldiers, Blue was elegant, cunning, and dangerous. He showed that the Red Ribbon Army was not merely a collection of faceless troops, but a force with individuals who had unique skills. His battles with Goku tested the boy's growing abilities and introduced the idea that villains could be clever as well as strong. The Red Ribbon Army's leader, Commander Red, provided one of the most ironic twists in the early story. His goal was not to conquer the world or achieve immortality. Instead, he wanted to use the Dragon Balls to grow taller. This revelation turned a seemingly vast military operation into something absurd and humorous, showing Toriyama's willingness to play with expectations. Beneath the humor, however, was a reminder of how human vanity could drive even the most dangerous of plans. Later, as the story grew darker, King Piccolo emerged as one of the most terrifying villains in Dragon Ball's early history. Unlike Pilaf or the Red Ribbon Army, King Piccolo was not comical or absurd. He was a demon, ancient and cruel, who sought to plunge the world into chaos. His very appearance, with green skin, pointed ears, and a fearsome grin, set him apart as something more sinister than anything before. The battles against him pushed Goku to his limits, showing for the first time that the stakes could truly be life and death. King Piccolo's backstory added depth to his menace. He had once been sealed away by Master Mutaito, the same teacher who had trained Master Roshi. This connection to the older generation gave him weight, as though his return was the reopening of an ancient wound. The use of the evil containment wave to seal him away tied the world of Dragon Ball to mystical traditions that were larger than any single fight. Piccolo was not just a villain, he was a force of nature, a dark echo of history come back to life. His offspring, created by spitting out eggs, added another layer of strangeness to his story. Each child carried his essence, his will, and his malice. They extended his reach across the world, turning his threat into something widespread and seemingly unstoppable. This method of reproduction, bizarre and chilling, marked him as something alien and unnatural, far beyond the comical villains of earlier arcs. What made King Piccolo especially memorable was the way his arc ended. Defeated by Goku, he used his final moments not to plead or repent, but to create an heir, Piccolo Jr. This act ensured that his legacy would continue, blending villainy with destiny in a way that would shape the series for years to come. The introduction of Piccolo Jr. also blurred the line between villain and hero, for he would one day grow into one of Goku's greatest allies. These early villains, from Pilaf's childish ambition to King Piccolo's terrifying reign, gave the foundation of Dragon Ball its shape. They balanced comedy with darkness, showing that the series could be both playful and serious. They forced Goku to grow, to learn, and to face challenges that tested more than his fists. And though later arcs would bring gods and galaxies into the story, the echoes of these first villains remain, reminders of where the legend began. The Saiyans are among the most iconic races in Dragon Ball, their legacy woven into nearly every great conflict of the series. Yet behind their fierce reputation as warriors lies a history filled with details, curiosities, and mysteries that give depth to their role in the story. Exploring their origins reveals not only their brutality but also the cultural fragments that shaped their destiny. The Saiyans were a race of fighters who lived on planet Vegeta, a harsh world where survival demanded strength. Their society was built around combat, with every member trained from birth to fight. Power was the measure of worth, and status was determined by battle ability. Unlike the peaceful cultures encountered elsewhere in Dragon Ball, the Saiyans glorified conquest, taking pride in spreading fear across the galaxy. Despite their fearsome image, the Saiyans were not always spacefaring conquerors. Before joining forces with the tyrant Frieza, they had their own traditions and structures. Lower-class warriors were sent to weaker planets, often as infants, to conquer them once they grew. This practice revealed both the ruthlessness and the practicality of Saiyan society. Even children were seen as weapons, their growth tied to destruction. Yet this also carried a poetic symmetry. A small child could one day overthrow an entire world. One fascinating aspect of Saiyan culture was their transformation into great apes under the full moon. With their tails intact, Saiyans could gaze upon the moonlight and grow into towering beasts, many times larger and stronger than their normal forms. This transformation, known as Uzaru, was both their greatest weapon and their deepest vulnerability. In the form of an ape, a Saiyan lost control, becoming a destructive force that cared little for friend or foe. It is an ability that tied them back to primal myths, a reminder of their wild origins. Their royal bloodline was represented by King Vegeta, whose leadership gave the race both organization and ambition. King Vegeta's pride in his people was immense, though it was also tinged with arrogance. He sought power for the Saiyans not only through conquest but through alliances, even if those alliances were uneasy. The decision to work under Frieza's empire, conquering planets on his behalf, was one born of pragmatism. It allowed the Saiyans to thrive, yet it also placed them in chains, bound to a master far more powerful than any of them. The destruction of planet Vegeta stands as one of the darkest moments in Saiyan history. Frieza, fearing the potential of their growing strength, eradicated the race with a single devastating attack. Only a handful of Saiyans survived: Vegeta, Nappa, Raditz, and the infant Goku, who had been sent to Earth. This near extinction gave the survivors an added weight, as though every action they took afterward carried the ghost of an entire race behind them. Saiyan armor, seen throughout the series, also carried subtle details. The flexible, form-fitting suits were designed for adaptability, stretching with transformations and allowing for swift movement. The armor symbolized their life as conquerors, functional yet imposing, crafted to inspire fear. The scouters they wore, capable of measuring battle power, were less a Saiyan creation and more a tool given through their association with Frieza's forces. The scouters became iconic, but they also represented dependence technology imposed upon them rather than born from their own culture. Saiyan names followed a playful pattern that few notice at first. Many were vegetable puns: Vegeta from vegetable, Kakarot from carrot, Raditz from radish, and Broly from broccoli. This quirk reflected Toriyama's humor, inserting levity into even the most serious aspects of lore. Yet it also gave the Saiyans a strange unity, as though their very identities were tied to the natural world, reminding us that even the fiercest warriors could be bound by simple, playful roots. Another obscure detail is the Saiyan instinct for battle recovery. When a Saiyan suffers near fatal injuries and survives, their body adapts, growing stronger than before. This trait, called a Zenkai boost, explains why they constantly sought out battles, why danger was as much a tool as it was a threat. For the Saiyans, every defeat was also a path to greater strength. This biological advantage made them unique among the races of Dragon Ball, ensuring that their power would always climb higher with each struggle. Perhaps most haunting of all is the contrast between the Saiyans' violent culture and the gentle life Goku found on Earth. Stripped of his tail in time and raised by a kind-hearted human, he grew to embody values completely opposite of his people. While Vegeta clung to his pride and Raditz embraced his cruelty, Goku became proof that Saiyan potential did not have to mean destruction. Instead, it could mean protection, growth, and compassion. In this way, the survival of the Saiyan race did not end with extinction, but with transformation, their legacy reshaped by one small child who fell from the stars. The Saiyan story is not simply one of warriors, but of identity, survival, and destiny. Their history lingers like a shadow, echoing in every battle where pride, power, and heritage collide. They are a reminder that even in the midst of humor and adventure, Dragon Ball's lore carries the weight of myth, tragedy, and rebirth. Among all the characters in Dragon Ball, Vegeta carries one of the most layered and complex stories. Introduced as a ruthless villain, he slowly transformed across years of battles, failures, and small victories into something far more human. His journey, filled with pride, anger, and gradual acceptance, became one of the most beloved arcs in the entire series. Vegeta first appeared as the proud prince of the Saiyan race, accompanied by his subordinate Nappa. His arrival on Earth was destructive and merciless, yet it revealed his unshakable pride. He saw himself not just as another warrior, but as royalty, the last true heir to a people destroyed by Frieza. Every word and every gesture carried the weight of that lost kingdom. In this way, Vegeta was more than a villain. He was a survivor, clinging to his pride as the only fragment of his people that remained. What made Vegeta compelling was his balance of cruelty and discipline. Unlike Nappa, who relied on brute strength, Vegeta fought with precision and strategy. He underestimated no one, and his respect for battle was clear even when he mocked his opponents. Though he seemed heartless, this underlying sense of discipline made him more than just another tyrant. He was a true warrior, defined by a code that revolved around victory, power, and survival. His rivalry with Goku began almost immediately. When Vegeta discovered that the low-class warrior he dismissed as weak had surpassed him, his pride was wounded in a way that shaped the rest of his story. Goku's strength, earned through hard work and compassion, stood in direct opposition to Vegeta's pride in his bloodline and natural ability. From that moment, Vegeta's path became intertwined with Goku's, his growth forever measured against the man he both despised and respected. The battles against Frieza revealed another layer of Vegeta's character. For all his pride, Vegeta lived under Frieza's shadow for most of his life. His arrogance masked deep resentment, as he had been forced into servitude by the very tyrant who destroyed his home. When Frieza mocked him, Vegeta's rage turned into desperation. His tears during their confrontation marked one of the first glimpses of vulnerability beneath his pride, showing that his cruelty was born of survival, not joy. Even after joining the heroes out of necessity, Vegeta's pride remained unbroken. He refused to see himself as a member of their group, insisting on his independence. Yet small signs of change began to appear. His relationship with Bulma, unexpected and at first reluctant, tied him to Earth in a way he could not deny. Their son, Trunks, became a quiet turning point in his journey. Though Vegeta struggled to show affection, the bond he formed with his family revealed a softer side that clashed with his hardened exterior. During the Android and Cell sagas, Vegeta's flaws were placed at the forefront. His hunger for strength blinded him, leading to decisions that placed his friends and even his family at risk. When he allowed Cell to absorb Android 18 simply to test his own power, it showed the dangerous grip his pride still held over him. Yet his later sacrifice, where he gave his life in a desperate attempt to protect his son and the Earth, revealed the depth of his transformation. For the first time, his pride bent not for himself, but for others. The Majin Buu saga deepened this complexity. Vegeta allowed himself to fall under Babidi's influence, not because he was evil, but because he craved the chance to surpass Goku without restraint. This act reignited his darker side, yet it was also his most human moment. He admitted openly that he could not let go of his rivalry, that his pride as a Saiyan prince demanded he face Goku on equal terms. Yet, after his fateful duel, he chose to sacrifice himself once more, embracing his role as protector of his family. That moment marked the final shift from villain to hero, pride giving way to love. In later stories, Vegeta's development continued in quieter ways. He became a dedicated father, training Trunks and supporting his growth. His relationship with Bulma grew into a true partnership, filled with both humor and warmth. He never abandoned his pride, but he learned to soften it, to let it coexist with his responsibilities. His rivalry with Goku remained, but it no longer defined him as completely. Instead, it became a source of motivation, a reminder that his journey was not about surpassing Goku, but about becoming his truest self. Even in the Tournament of Power, Vegeta's pride showed its evolution. He fought not only for himself, but for his family, and even for the survival of Universe 7. His refusal to give up, his promise to Bulma and his children, and his determination to honor the legacy of the Saiyans made his presence unforgettable. He proved that pride could exist alongside compassion, that strength could grow from love as much as rivalry. Vegeta's story remains one of the most layered in Dragon Ball. He began as a conqueror, consumed by pride and rage, and became a protector, guided by love and responsibility. He never lost his fire, never abandoned his identity, but he learned to direct it toward something greater than himself. In this way, he represents the truth that even the most hardened hearts can change, and that pride, when tempered by love, can become a force of protection rather than destruction. Gohan's journey is one of the most unique in Dragon Ball, filled with hidden power, unexpected transformations, and the quiet tension between the life he wanted and the destiny placed upon him. From the moment he was introduced, there were hints that he was unlike any other character, a child with gentle eyes and a heart reluctant to fight, yet carrying within him strength that surpassed even his father's. When Gohan was first introduced, he was not a fighter at all. He was a small boy, shy and bookish, carrying with him the cap of his adoptive grandfather Gohan as a token of his heritage. His innocence was clear, and his mother Chi-Chi dreamed of a future where her son would become a scholar rather than a warrior. Yet it was precisely this combination of gentleness and untapped strength that made Gohan so compelling, for his hidden potential revealed itself only in moments of great emotion. One of the first times this power appeared was during the battle with Raditz. Though Gohan was only a child, when he saw his father in danger, His fear and anger unleashed a burst of energy that shattered Raditz's armor and stunned both ally and enemy alike. It was not a carefully trained attack, nor something Gohan understood. It was pure emotion, raw and uncontrollable, but undeniably powerful. This moment foreshadowed the role Gohan would play throughout the series, a reluctant warrior whose greatest strength emerged when protecting those he loved. During his training with Piccolo, Gohan's hidden potential was tested in new ways. Stripped of comfort and safety, forced to survive alone in the wilderness, he began to transform from a timid boy into a resilient fighter. Yet even as he learned to wield strength, his core identity as a kind and compassionate child remained. Piccolo, once his father's enemy, became a mentor and even a surrogate parent, and through this bond, Gohan found balance between his gentle heart and his growing power. The battles on Namek further revealed the depths of Gohan's potential. Against enemies far stronger than he could reasonably face, his bursts of rage gave him strength that surprised even Vegeta and Frieza. Though he was often frightened, his courage surfaced in moments when his friends were threatened. The combination of innocence and ferocity made him unpredictable, a child who could stand against galactic tyrants when pushed beyond his limits. His greatest turning point came during the battle with Cell. Goku believed, perhaps more than anyone else, that Gohan held the potential to surpass all others. He placed his faith in his son, even stepping aside to let him take the lead. At first, Gohan resisted, unwilling to embrace the violence required of him. Yet when Cell pushed him too far, destroying Android 16 and threatening the lives of his friends, Gohan's emotions erupted. His transformation into Super Saiyan 2 was a moment of pure catharsis, the quiet boy revealing the storm that had always lived within him. This transformation was not simply a new form of power, but a culmination of his journey up to that point. The electricity that danced around him, the sharpness of his aura, and the calm fury in his eyes reflected the balance between innocence and wrath. Gohan did not enjoy fighting, but when forced, he became a force greater than even Goku. In defeating Cell, he fulfilled the prophecy of his hidden potential, though it was a burden he never truly wished to carry. After the Cell saga, Gohan's life took another path. He returned to his studies, encouraged by Chi-Chi to focus on education rather than combat. Though many fans were surprised by this shift, it reflected the core of his character. Gohan never sought battles. He longed for peace, books, and the life of a scholar. Yet even in this quieter role, his strength remained. He became the great Saiyaman, a playful, heroic figure who balanced his scholarly pursuits with the duty of protecting others. During the Majin Buu saga, Gohan's hidden potential was once again awakened. Through the training of the Supreme Kai and the Elder Kai, his power was unlocked without the need for transformation. This mystic or ultimate Gohan revealed a calm, refined strength, no longer reliant on bursts of rage. For the first time, his power was steady, deliberate, and fully under his control. This form represented the maturity of his potential, the blending of his scholarly patience with his warrior spirit. Even in later arcs, Gohan's journey remained one of balance. He was not always the strongest, nor did he always seek to be. Yet whenever his family or the world was threatened, he returned to battle, proving that his hidden potential never faded. His presence reminded viewers that strength is not only about training or rivalry, but about purpose. Gohan's greatest power was always his compassion, his willingness to fight not for glory but for the people he loved. Gohan's story is one of contrasts: the scholar and the warrior, the timid child and the unstoppable fighter, the boy who wanted peace and the man forced to embrace conflict. His hidden potential was both a gift and a burden, shaping him into one of the most layered characters in Dragon Ball. Through him, the series showed that power can come from love as much as anger, and that even the gentlest soul can carry within it the strength to change the world. Piccolo's journey through the Dragon Ball story is one of redemption, evolution, and quiet strength. Among all the characters who began as enemies, few have grown in such profound ways. His story unfolds slowly, a meditation on identity and change, showing how even a being born from darkness can find light through understanding and connection. When Piccolo first appeared, he was a remnant of evil, the reincarnation of King Piccolo, a demon who once terrorized the earth. His birth was an act of vengeance, his very existence driven by the desire to destroy Goku and reclaim what his predecessor had lost. Yet, even from his earliest moments, there was a spark of something more, a depth beneath the rage. He was born into hatred, but not bound to it. During the early battles, Piccolo's power and cunning made him one of Goku's most formidable opponents. His cold, methodical nature contrasted with Goku's warmth and impulsive energy. When they fought in the World Martial Arts Tournament, every move carried years of inherited bitterness, yet also a strange respect. Though he sought revenge, Piccolo found himself intrigued by Goku's strength and spirit. Their rivalry, like so many in Dragon Ball, became a catalyst for growth rather than destruction. The turning point in Piccolo's story came unexpectedly, through a small, frightened child Gohan. When Raditz arrived on Earth and kidnapped Goku's son, Piccolo joined forces with his former enemy out of necessity. In that temporary alliance, the seeds of transformation were planted. After Goku's death, Piccolo took it upon himself to train Gohan, not out of compassion, but practicality. Yet what began as duty soon became something far more profound. Training Gohan revealed the gentleness buried beneath Piccolo's stoic surface. He watched the boy cry, struggle, and persevere, and in doing so, he began to change. The bond that formed between them was subtle, built on shared moments of survival rather than words. When Piccolo sacrificed himself to save Gohan from Nappa's attack, his final words thanking the child for his friendship marked a complete transformation. For the first time, he acted not out of hatred, but love. After his resurrection, Piccolo's connection to Gohan deepened. He became a mentor, a protector, and almost a father figure. He stood beside Goku's friends not as an outsider, but as a trusted ally. The demon had become a guardian, and Earth was no longer a world to conquer, but one to protect. This evolution gave Piccolo a quiet nobility, an inner peace that set him apart from the other warriors. His Namekian heritage also added layers to his transformation. When he traveled to planet Namek, he discovered the truth of his race, a peaceful, wise people far removed from the violence he had known. The fusion with Nail, a brave Namekian warrior, further deepened his understanding. It was not just a merger of power, but of spirit. Nail's calm strength tempered Piccolo's aggression, shaping him into someone more whole. Later, when he fused with Kami, his creator and opposite, the circle of his existence closed completely. The division between good and evil that had defined him for so long was finally healed. As one being again, Piccolo became something beyond either half, not demon, not God, but balance itself. His power grew immense, but more importantly, his wisdom did too. He no longer sought destruction or domination. He became a strategist, a teacher, and a quiet observer, guiding others without demanding recognition. His calm presence grounded the chaos of battles, offering perspective when others were consumed by emotion. Piccolo's evolution continued across every saga. During the Android and Cell arcs, his role as protector expanded. Though outmatched by newer transformations and stronger fighters, he remained a vital force, his intelligence often more valuable than raw strength. He analyzed opponents, devised strategies, and offered counsel when others faltered. Even as the Saiyans surpassed him in power, Piccolo's importance never diminished. His wisdom became the heart of the group, the steady rhythm beneath their ever-escalating battles. What makes Piccolo so unique in Dragon Ball is his quietness. While others shout, transform, and explode with energy, Piccolo often stands still, watching, thinking, and understanding. His silence is powerful, a calm in the storm of the series' intensity. When he does speak, his words carry weight, often revealing truths that others overlook. This calm authority makes him a figure of comfort as much as strength. His relationship with Gohan remained one of the most enduring bonds in the series. Through every battle, every era, their connection endured. Gohan's respect for Piccolo went beyond mentorship. It was rooted in love and gratitude, and for Piccolo, Gohan represented the proof that he could be more than what he was created to be. Their friendship became one of Dragon Ball's quietest but most beautiful stories, a story not of blood, but of chosen family. In Dragon Ball Super, Piccolo's role evolved once again. He became both a fighter and a caretaker, especially for Pan, Gohan's daughter. His soft patience with her, his willingness to babysit, and his subtle humor showed how far he had come from his origins. Once a being of rage and vengeance, he had become a teacher, a father figure across generations. His strength was no longer measured in energy blasts, but in calm presence and enduring loyalty. Piccolo's transformations, both literal and emotional, reveal the depth of Dragon Ball's storytelling. Beneath the action and spectacle lies a tale of redemption, of finding identity beyond what one was born to be. From villain to hero, from demon to guardian, Piccolo's journey is one of quiet grace. His story whispers a truth that lingers softly as we drift into rest, that even those born in darkness can learn to protect the light, and that redemption, once begun, can echo through lifetimes. In the vastness of Dragon Ball's universe, few figures cast a shadow as long or as cold as Frieza. His name alone brings to mind power, cruelty, and an unshakable control over fear. Yet beneath the gleam of his armor and the calm venom in his voice lies one of the most fascinating tales in the series, the story of a being who was both emperor and monster, shaped not by tragedy, but by the pursuit of absolute power. Frieza's world was one of dominance. From the moment he appeared, his composure set him apart from the loud and fiery warriors of the series. He did not rage or boast without purpose. His evil was quiet, precise, and chilling. He ruled entire galaxies through fear, his forces conquering worlds in his name. To most races, Frieza was not a person, but a force of nature, a perfect embodiment of control and destruction. His empire was built upon efficiency. The Saiyans, before their extinction, served him as planetary conquerors, selling the worlds they cleared to the highest bidder. Yet Frieza saw in the Saiyans both usefulness and danger. Their power, their transformations, and their pride made them unpredictable. Though they served loyally for a time, Frieza feared what they might become. That fear, subtle but potent, led to the annihilation of planet Vegeta, a single, cold act that ended an entire civilization in moments. The irony of Frieza's fear is that it was not baseless. The prophecy of a Super Saiyan haunted him, a legend whispered across generations, describing a warrior of unmatched power who would rise from among the Saiyans to challenge tyranny itself. To Frieza, it was not superstition but potential, and potential, in his eyes, was the seed of rebellion, so he chose to destroy it before it could bloom. Frieza's appearance on Namek introduced the true depth of his cruelty. While Vegeta sought the Dragon Balls to claim immortality, Frieza's pursuit was colder, not born of desperation, but of greed. He desired eternal life not because he feared death, but because he could not imagine a universe without his control. Every word he spoke was delivered with calmness, every act of violence carried out with a smile that made it all the more horrifying. His politeness made him more terrifying, for it showed that destruction was not a loss of control for him. It was art. When he fought against the heroes on Namek, Frieza revealed layers of power that seemed infinite. Each transformation peeled back another level of restraint, as though he had been deliberately hiding his true strength for amusement. His final form, sleek, smooth, and deceptively small, carried an unsettling beauty. It was the face of perfection in his eyes, a reflection of how control and elegance could exist even in evil. The battle between Frieza and Goku became one of the most defining moments in all of Dragon Ball. It was not merely a fight between two powerful beings, but between ideologies. Frieza represented dominance and cruelty without purpose, while Goku embodied freedom and growth. When Goku finally transformed into a Super Saiyan, it was more than a change in power level. It was the fulfillment of the very legend that Frieza had tried to erase. In that moment, the fear that had haunted Frieza for years became reality. Even as he faced defeat, Frieza's arrogance never truly faded. He could not comprehend mercy, could not understand Goku's willingness to spare him. That inability to see beyond control defined him completely. When he turned on Goku one final time and was cut down, it was not just his body that was destroyed, but the illusion of his perfection. The emperor who ruled galaxies was undone by the flaw he refused to see his own pride. Frieza's return in later stories only deepened his character. His resurrection in Dragon Ball Super showed that even death could not dull his malice. Yet, there was something fascinating in how he adapted. No longer content to rely on fear alone, Frieza trained, truly trained, for the first time in his life. The result was his golden form, a shimmering transformation that mirrored the Saiyan's evolution, but infused with his own arrogance. The form was beautiful and terrible, a declaration that he would never be left behind. Despite his power, Frieza's personality never changed. His charm remained polished, his voice smooth, his cruelty undiminished. He could converse with gods and assassins alike, switching from elegance to violence with ease. Yet within that, there was something almost poetic, a creature of pure malice that could never be tamed, yet also could never fully win. Even his alliances, temporary and self-serving, carried a strange consistency. He was honest in his deceit, predictable in his ambition. One of the most subtle elements of Frieza's story is how he reflects the darker side of Dragon Ball's universe. While others grow through loss, friendship, or discipline, Frieza grows only through hatred and envy. He does not evolve because he seeks meaning, but because he cannot bear to be less than others. His hatred of Goku is not simply anger over defeat, it is existential. Goku's existence invalidates everything Frieza believes in. To see a lowly Saiyan surpass him is to see the universe turn upside down. Yet even as an eternal antagonist, Frieza is strangely essential to the story's balance. Without him, the Saiyans' rise would lack context. His destruction of their home, his tyranny, his defeat, all of it shaped the heroes that followed. He is a mirror held up to every warrior, showing what happens when strength is divorced from compassion, and because of that, his presence remains eternal. Frieza's story ends and begins again, as it always does, because he is not merely a villain to be defeated. He is the embodiment of power unrestrained, of fear refined into elegance. His calm voice and cruel smile linger long after his battles end, whispering reminders of what true evil looks like when it believes itself perfect. And so, even as peace returns, Frieza drifts through the stars, patient and waiting. In the silence of the cosmos, his laughter echoes quiet, cold, and unending, a sound that reminds us that darkness, too, can be immortal. Among the many stories that flow through Dragon Ball's vast universe, few carry the same quiet melancholy as the tale of future Trunks. His world, broken and worn, stands as a mirror of what might have been a place where hope flickered but never fully faded. Trunks's journey is one of courage born from loss, of strength shaped by sorrow, and of a heart that carries the weight of a dying world. The story begins in a future unlike the vibrant one we know. In Trunks's timeline, the Earth has fallen into ruin. Cities lie in silence, their skies gray and still. Androids 17 and 18 roam freely, not as protectors or misunderstood creations, but as destroyers who wiped out nearly all the planet's defenders. Goku, the eternal hero, had died long before the chaos began, not in battle, but from a simple heart virus. Without him, the balance of power collapsed, and despair took root. Trunks grew up in this world of absence. From childhood, he knew only stories of the warriors who had once protected Earth, tales of courage told by his mother, Bulma. She was one of the last remnants of the old world, her genius turned toward survival rather than discovery. Under her care, Trunks learned not just to fight, but to hope. He trained under Gohan, who had become the last living disciple of Goku, carrying the legacy of the fallen Z fighters in his heart. Gohan's mentorship shaped Trunks more deeply than any transformation or power could. Their bond was quiet and familial, a brotherhood formed in the ruins. Together, they trained endlessly, trying to push past the limits of despair. Yet even as they grew stronger, the shadow of the androids loomed over them. The world had changed too much. The scale of destruction was beyond what their small resistance could undo. The moment that defined Trunks' early life came when Gohan fell. In a storm of rain and sorrow, the last of the old warriors faced the androids alone, shielding Trunks from certain death. When Trunks found Gohan's body, lifeless and still, the loss ignited something inside him, grief so powerful that it awakened his transformation into a Super Saiyan. Unlike Goku's, which came from battle, or Vegeta's, born of pride, Trunks's transformation was pure sorrow. His golden aura rose not from victory, but mourning. From that day forward, Trunks carried the flame of resistance alone. He became the last hope of his world, fighting battles he could not win, standing against enemies he could not destroy. Yet his courage never faltered. When Bulma revealed her plan to build a time machine and send him to the past, Trunks understood that his mission was not just to save others, but to change destiny itself. When he arrived in the past, his presence was calm and mysterious. He appeared before the heroes with quiet determination, his lavender hair and sword unlike anything they had seen. His first act, the effortless defeat of Frieza and King Cold, established him as someone extraordinary, but also as someone marked by tragedy. His movements were efficient, his words precise. He did not seek recognition, only results. Trunks's warning about the androids set in motion a chain of events that altered the course of history. By sharing his knowledge, he gave the heroes time to prepare, changing the fate that had destroyed his own world. In helping them, he found something his timeline had never known: community. For the first time, he fought not as the last survivor, but as part of a team. The difference gave him strength, but also reminded him of what he had lost. Throughout his time in the past, Trunks formed connections that reflected pieces of the world he came from. With Gohan, he felt the echo of his lost mentor's kindness. With Vegeta, he found the complicated bond between father and son, a relationship defined as much by distance as by pride. Vegeta, unaware of Trunks' true identity at first, treated him as a rival rather than family. Yet as the truth emerged, so too did understanding. Though Vegeta rarely expressed it, his pride in Trunks ran deep, hidden behind his usual stoicism. Trunks' role in the Cell Saga was crucial. His knowledge of time and technology guided the heroes, while his own resolve pushed him through impossible battles. The journey was more than an effort to save another world. It was a chance to heal the wounds of his own. When he finally returned to his timeline, equipped with new strength and understanding, he faced the androids once more. This time, he triumphed. His victory was not born of vengeance, but closure. Yet peace in his world was fleeting. In later years, a new darkness rose in the form of Goku Black, a twisted reflection of the very hero Trunks had once admired. This new enemy was not simply powerful, he was cruel in a philosophical way, seeing mortals as flawed and unworthy. His presence turned Trunks' world into an even darker nightmare, blending despair with betrayal. But even then, Trunks' spirit endured. His determination became something unbreakable, shining brighter than ever in the ashes of ruin. The strength of Trunks' story lies not in his battles, but in his resilience. While others fought to grow stronger, Trunks fought to preserve hope itself. He lived in a world where almost everything had been taken from him, yet he never allowed himself to become cold or cruel. His kindness persisted, his sense of justice unshaken. He carried the legacy of all who came before: Goku's courage, Vegeta's pride, Gohan's compassion, Bulma's intellect, and wove them together into something new. Trunks is, in many ways, the quiet heart of Dragon Ball's greater story. He represents the cost of failure and the power of second chances. Through him, the series reminds us that strength can come from grief, and that even in the darkest timelines, there is light waiting to be found. His sword, a symbol of survival, gleams not with anger, but with memory, a blade forged by loss, wielded in hope. In his calm gaze, one can see both past and future, the boy who watched his world fall, and the man who refused to let it end there. And as he travels through time, carrying both pain and peace within him, Trunks becomes more than a hero. He becomes a promise that no matter how many worlds collapse, courage will always find a way to rise again. In the world of Dragon Ball, few stories carry the quiet sorrow that lingers behind the tale of the androids. Though they are remembered as fearsome enemies and instruments of destruction, their origins are steeped in tragedy, a reflection of human obsession, regret, and the thin line between creation and ruin. To understand them is to see not just machines but mirrors of the people who made them and the emotions they could never escape. The story of the androids begins with Dr. Gero, a brilliant but twisted scientist once affiliated with the Red Ribbon Army. His genius rivaled that of Bulma, yet where she used her intellect to explore and create, Gero used his to control and destroy. After the fall of the Red Ribbon Army at Goku's hands, Gero's hatred grew into obsession. He could not accept defeat. The spark of vengeance became his life's work, and from that dark fire, the androids were born. In his cold laboratory, far from sunlight and laughter, Garo worked tirelessly to perfect his creations. He saw himself as a god of his own small universe, building life from circuits and flesh. The androids he created were not purely mechanical. Many were human once, altered through cruel experimentation. This fusion of machine and man gave them incredible power, but also anchored them to fragments of emotion. Each one carried traces of their former selves, glimmers of memory and humanity trapped beneath programming. Androids 17 and 18, perhaps the most iconic of his creations, were once ordinary humans. Garo captured them and reshaped their bodies into weapons of vengeance. Yet their minds, though restrained, remained their own. They rebelled against their creator almost as soon as they awoke, killing him in a moment of poetic justice. In that instant, the line between creation and creator blurred. The monsters he made refused to be monsters on his terms. In the main timeline, their actions sparked chaos. Cities fell, warriors were defeated, and fear spread across the world. Yet beneath their calm cruelty, there was something unsettlingly human. Android 18's quiet boredom, her faint smiles, her curiosity about the world all hinted that she was more than a machine of war. 17, though more detached, displayed a strange appreciation for freedom, as though he understood the value of life even while taking it away. They were both haunted by the same paradox, built to destroy, yet yearning to exist. Android 16 was different. Unlike his siblings, he was fully mechanical, created in the image of Garo's lost son. This detail, often overlooked, adds a layer of tenderness to an otherwise grim story. Garo had once loved, and in his grief, he tried to rebuild that love in metal and code. But the result was not vengeance, it was peace. 16 was gentle, kind, and fascinated by nature. His design, meant to kill Goku, became a vessel for compassion. The beauty of birds, the stillness of the earth, these were the things that moved him. When the time came for battle, 16's compassion became his greatest strength. His words to Gohan during the Cell games that life is beautiful and worth protecting became the catalyst for Gohan's awakening. It was the voice of a machine reminding humanity of its worth. And when 16 sacrificed himself, it was not programming that guided him, but the spark of something unmistakably human. The android's story intertwined deeply with that of Cell, another of Garo's creations. Designed as the ultimate being, Cell represented the culmination of Garo's ambition, a creature born from the DNA of heroes and villains alike. Yet, like his predecessors, Cell's perfection was his curse. His hunger for completion, his obsession with absorbing 17 and 18, mirrored Garo's own compulsions. He too became trapped by the same endless cycle, to create, consume, and destroy, never finding satisfaction. In many ways, the androids reflect the consequences of Garo's failure to understand what makes life meaningful. He could replicate power, memory, and intellect, but not empathy. His creations were human in form and thought, yet devoid of the warmth that gives life purpose. And in rejecting their creator, they unknowingly sought that missing piece, the freedom to choose, to live without command or purpose. When peace finally returned, the androids found new beginnings. 18's marriage to Krillin marked one of the most surprising yet gentle turns in the story. A being designed to destroy found love with the kindest of humans. Their relationship was not built on grand gestures, but quiet understanding. Through Krillin's compassion, 18 discovered that her existence was not defined by Garo's cruelty. She could laugh, care, and build a family. Together they had a daughter, Marin, proof that something born from darkness could create life and joy. 17's fate was more solitary, yet equally poetic. In later years, he became a park ranger, living peacefully among nature. The same freedom he once claimed through violence he now used to protect. The forests and animals he guarded were his redemption, a world he could care for without fear or control. When he returned in the Tournament of Power, his calm composure and quiet intelligence revealed a man who had finally made peace with himself. The android's journey, taken as a whole, speaks softly of transformation. It reminds us that even the products of hatred can evolve into protectors of life. Their existence challenges the idea of destiny, showing that identity is not determined by creation, but by choice. Each of them, 17, 18, 16, and even Cell, carries a fragment of Garo's brilliance and his flaw, but also something he never understood, the ability to change. Their story lingers in the quiet moments between battles, in the sound of wind through the trees that 16 once loved, in the laughter of 18's family, and in 17's peaceful patrol through the wilderness. It is a reminder that redemption is not loud or sudden, but slow and deliberate, like the steady hum of machinery, finding its rhythm again after years of disrepair. And in the stillness of that hum lies the truth of their creation, that even from the coldest designs of vengeance, warmth can emerge. Among all the beings to appear in Dragon Ball, none embody the strange balance between chaos and innocence quite like Majin Buu. His existence stretches back into the oldest corners of the universe, a creature of immense power and unpredictable emotion. Where others were forged through evolution, training, or technology, Buu was something ancient, a living force of creation and destruction, born before reason and shaped by endless ages of conflict. The origin of Majin Buu is mysterious and layered. Long before the heroes of Earth were even imagined, Buu existed as a being of pure magic. He was not born in the way mortals are born. Rather, he emerged as a manifestation of chaos itself, a force that moved across galaxies, erasing civilizations with childlike simplicity. Some accounts say he was created by the dark sorcerer Bibidi, but other whispers suggest that Bibidi merely awakened something that had always been there, a primordial energy with its own will. Buu's early rampages were terrible and endless. Gods themselves trembled at his name. He destroyed worlds without malice, not out of cruelty but out of impulse, as though destruction was simply his nature. He was laughter and terror, blended into one, a creature who could reduce universes to silence and then smile as if nothing had happened. It was this paradox, the mind of a child inside the body of a god, that made him so haunting. Eventually, Bibidi managed to seal Buu away, fearing that even he could not control his creation. For millions of years, Buu slept, his magic contained within a small orb, drifting quietly through time. When the seal was finally broken, it was not by chance but through the ambitions of Bibidi's son, Babidi. Seeking to reclaim his father's lost power, Babidi unleashed Buu upon the universe once more, unaware that he was waking something ancient and unpredictable. When Majin Buu first appeared in the modern era, his form was round, pink, and deceptively cheerful. His laughter echoed across battlefields, a strange, musical sound that belied the devastation he caused. At first glance, he seemed harmless, almost playful, but his power was immeasurable. He could reshape his body, regenerate from any wound, and turn his enemies into candy with a flick of his hand. To fight him was to fight the impossible, for even destruction could not end him. And yet, behind the laughter, there was loneliness. Buu was a creature without purpose, acting only on the impulses of those who commanded him. He obeyed Babidi at first, destroying cities and turning the earth into a playground of ruin. But as he spent more time in the world, something began to change. Simple acts of kindness, a child offering him food, the companionship of his dog Bee, the friendship of Mr. Satan, awakened emotions within him that had never existed before. For the first time, Boo began to feel. That newfound feeling fractured him. The goodness he discovered clashed with the chaos that defined him, splitting his being into two halves, the gentle, childlike Boo and the dark, lean, and cruel version known as Evil Boo. Their confrontation was not just physical but symbolic, the battle between innocence and instinct, between creation and destruction. When Evil Boo absorbed his gentler self, he transformed into Super Boo, a being far more intelligent and dangerous, one who retained Boo's power but twisted it with cold precision. Super Boo's reign was one of terror and cunning. He spoke clearly, reasoned strategically, and fought with the awareness of a true predator. Yet even then, fragments of the original Boo's childlike nature remained, surfacing in moments of unpredictability. When he absorbed Gotenks and later Gohan, his power became nearly limitless. But with every transformation, every absorption, Boo lost a little more of his identity. He was growing stronger, but also emptier, a reflection of the chaos that births and consumes itself. The final and most primal form of Majin Buu, known as Kid Buu, was the purest expression of his nature. Small, silent, and unrestrained, he fought without words or reason. There was no strategy, no morality, no malice, only movement. Every attack was instinctive, every destruction immediate. In Kid Buu, the universe saw what true chaos looked like when stripped of emotion and control. He destroyed planets not because he wanted to rule, but because he existed. To him, destruction was simply breath, the rhythm of life itself. The battle against Kid Buu brought all of creation to the edge. The heroes fought not to defeat evil, but to survive the force of entropy itself. Yet even amid the terror, there was a strange sense of peace in Buu's simplicity. He did not lie, plot, or scheme. He was what he was, an echo of the cosmos before order existed. Goku's victory through the Spirit Bomb was less a triumph of strength and more an act of balance, returning chaos to rest, restoring the stillness that creation needs to endure. When Buu was reborn as Oob, the cycle began anew, but with gentleness at its core. The darkness was gone, replaced by a humble boy from a quiet village, unaware of his power. This rebirth symbolized redemption on a cosmic scale. The same force that once destroyed galaxies now had a chance to protect them. Through reincarnation, Buu's story found peace, a reminder that even the most chaotic souls can one day find harmony. Majin Buu's tale is one of contrasts, destruction and laughter, chaos and kindness, death and rebirth. He is a reminder that good and evil are not always opposites, but different shades of the same existence. Beneath his laughter there is longing, beneath his destruction, the faint spark of innocence. In him, the universe's oldest truth hums softly that even the wildest storms can fall silent, and from their silence, new worlds can begin again. Long before Goku and Vegeta reached the limits of mortal strength, before the quiet fields of Earth ever trembled with ki, there were beings who existed beyond time and reason, the gods of destruction and creation. Among them, one name carried the soft rumble of both fear and respect. Beerus, sleek, calm, and impossibly powerful, he was the god of destruction for Universe 7, a being whose very presence could quiet stars. Yet beneath his cosmic duty lay something almost playful, a restlessness that blurred the line between power and personality. Beerus had slept for countless ages. When he awoke, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. His slumber was legendary epochs passing while he drifted in dreams, leaving the galaxies to spin freely. But when he stirred, entire worlds wondered which he might erase first. To Beerus, destruction was not cruelty, it was balance. He erased so that creation could flourish anew, trimming the universe like a gardener removing overgrown branches. His calm voice and half-closed eyes hid the weight of a cosmic role that none could question. The legends surrounding Beerus were whispered across galaxies. Some said that a single sneeze from him could level planets. Others told tales of civilizations that vanished because they displeased him with a poorly cooked meal. And though these stories sounded exaggerated, they were not far from truth. Beerus's moods were as delicate as they were unpredictable. His desires were simple, good food, pleasing company, and the freedom to drift without restraint, yet the universe bent itself around those whims. When he finally awoke in the modern age, it was with a dream in mind, a vision of a warrior who could challenge him, the Super Saiyan God. It was this dream that led him to Earth, a small blue world unaware that divinity was descending upon it. His meeting with Goku and the others began not with rage but with curiosity. He found Earth's food delightful, its people amusing, and its heroes intriguing. Yet when Goku stood before him, Beerus saw something he had long forgotten: potential. Their battle on King Kai's planet marked a turning point in Dragon Ball's story. The power that flowed between them was not like the wild fury of past conflicts. It was divine, measured, and precise. Goku's transformation into the Super Saiyan God form carried a quiet beauty, his aura burning softly, his movements calm, his energy resonating like the pulse of the cosmos itself. Though Beerus ultimately won, the fight stirred something within him. For the first time in eons, he had found a challenge worth his attention. After that encounter, Beerus's presence became a strange blessing. He lingered near Earth, guided by his attendant and teacher, Whis, an angelic being of serenity and grace. Whis balanced Beerus's impulsiveness with gentle humor, his calm voice carrying wisdom that even gods respected. Together, they became an unusual pair, one representing destruction, the other peace. Their companionship revealed a softer side to divinity, that even beings of immense power needed connection and laughter. Beerus's fondness for Earth grew in quiet ways. He discovered joy in simple meals, delight in desserts, and a strange amusement in watching mortals strive for greatness. It was through this affection that he spared the planet more than once, protecting it not out of duty, but because he found it entertaining and perhaps comforting. In the warmth of its people, Beerus found something he had not felt in ages, the reminder that creation was worth preserving. In time, his relationship with Goku and Vegeta evolved into a teacher's test. He mocked their determination, yet secretly admired it. Their relentless pursuit of strength echoed his own forgotten hunger for growth. Whis began to train them, introducing divine techniques, the mastery of instinct, the stillness of movement that required no thought. For Beerus, watching mortals approach the threshold of godhood was both humbling and inspiring. The lore of the gods expanded through Beerus's presence. We learned of other universes, each with its own god of destruction, its own angel, its own supreme Kai. It became clear that Beerus was but one note in a grand cosmic symphony, a reminder that even gods are part of something greater. Yet among them all, he remained unique, his personality vivid, his laziness legendary, his temper dangerous but fleeting. The Tournament of Power brought Beerus into a new light. As universes fought for survival, he stood on the sidelines, silent but alert, his golden eyes following every move. He saw mortals achieve feats once thought impossible, power born not of divinity, but of heart, In those moments, even a god of destruction felt something like pride. The survival of Universe 7 was not merely a victory of strength, but of spirit proof that life, in all its flawed imperfection, could rival the beauty of creation itself. Behind Beerus's humor and impulsive appetite lies a quiet loneliness. Gods of destruction live eternally, bound by duty, untouched by the passage of time. Worlds rise and fall around them, yet they remain. For Beerus, the laughter and chaos of Earth filled that silence, if only for a while. When he shares meals with Bulma's family, when he teases Goku or watches Whis smile, there is a faint peace in his expression, the contentment of a god who, for once, feels part of something living. Beerus's existence reminds us that power, when stripped of purpose, becomes emptiness. His strength is limitless, yet his story is defined by small joys, a taste of pudding, a moment of laughter, a single fight that stirs his blood. He embodies the paradox of Dragon Ball's divine world, that even gods can crave meaning, and that eternity without wonder is just another kind of sleep. And so, Beerus rests once more, reclining beneath the soft glow of alien stars, his breath steady and slow. Perhaps he dreams again of that warrior of legend. Perhaps he dreams of Earth, with its warmth and noise and endless striving. Whatever the dream may be, the universe hums quietly around him, balanced in his peace, destruction, and creation resting together, as they were always meant to. Where Beerus brings destruction with the calm certainty of a cosmic tide, Whis moves through the universe like a quiet wind, unseen, unhurried, and profoundly wise. His voice is soft, his movements elegant, and his eyes forever amused, as though he sees both the beauty and absurdity in all things. Whis is more than Beerus's attendant. He is a being of balance, a celestial teacher who guides gods and mortals alike towards stillness, understanding, and power that transcends force itself. The angels, as Whis and his kind are called, are among the most mysterious entities in the Dragon Ball cosmos. They are not bound by the same rules that govern gods or mortals. They exist between creation and destruction, untouched by age, untouched by chaos. Each universe has one, a guardian and guide to its god of destruction, keeping the cosmic order steady without ever taking center stage. To see an angel act is rare. To see one troubled is almost impossible. Whis's relationship with Beerus is built on a delicate rhythm, the god who dreams, and the angel who wakes him, the destroyer who erases, and the teacher who restores. Though Whis serves Beerus, it is clear that his wisdom surpasses that of his master. With a tap of his staff or a faint smile, he can stop time for moments at a whim, rewind events by minutes, and strike with precision so perfect that even the gods pause to watch. Yet for all his power, he prefers peace. His laughter, light and melodic, fills the silence of divine realms. When Beerus rages, Whis merely smiles, his expression a reminder that even fury is temporary. He observes life not as a participant, but as one who understands its patterns too well. He finds amusement in the follies of mortals, fascination in their persistence. Goku's curiosity and Vegeta's pride, both so loud and imperfect, seem to charm him endlessly. Perhaps it is because, in their striving, he sees something angels cannot possess, the thrill of growth. Whis's teachings to Goku and Vegeta are subtle, layered like the folds of time itself. He never gives them direct answers. Instead, he offers hints, a gentle correction of posture, a passing remark, a demonstration so graceful it feels like art. Through him, they learn that true power is not noise, but silence. The ultra instinct he guides them toward is not about strength or speed, but about stillness, the ability to move without thought, to act without hesitation, to let the body become one with instinct. For Whis, this philosophy is not just combat, it is existence. Every motion he makes flows like water. His staff never trembles. His steps leave no sound. Even in battle, he seems to dance rather than fight, turning violence into serenity. Watching him train Goku and Vegeta is like witnessing a river teach stones how to flow. There is effort, yes, but wrapped in gentleness, a rhythm that makes even the fiercest warriors fall quiet. Though Whis rarely speaks of himself, hints of his past drift through conversation. He mentions siblings, other angels serving in other universes, and a father known as the Grand Priest, one of the most powerful beings in all existence. Their order operates beyond mortal comprehension, tied not to emotion but to duty. They serve the Xenos, the twin gods who embody absolute creation and erasure, childlike in demeanor yet infinite in reach. To an angel, obedience is not a burden, it is harmony. Whis, however, seems to carry a flicker of individuality. His laughter feels genuine, his curiosity sincere. When he watches Earth's food being prepared or listens to Bulma scolding Beerus, there is warmth in his eyes, a faint, human spark that sets him apart from his siblings. It is as if the time he spends among mortals has softened him, letting him appreciate the fragile joy that fills their fleeting lives. Perhaps, in his way, Whis envies them just a little. There is a serenity to the way Whis interacts with time itself. In moments of chaos, when the universe trembles or fate unravels, he never panics. Instead, he rewinds the clock gently, as though adjusting a painting that has fallen askew. His power over time is not born of dominance but of understanding, a recognition that time, like all things, prefers to flow rather than be forced. He uses it not to control destiny, but to preserve balance. Through Whis, we glimpse a truth that echoes quietly throughout Dragon Ball's lore, that even in a universe filled with gods, angels, and infinite strength, peace is not the absence of conflict but the mastery of self. He embodies that peace perfectly, not as stillness, but as motion without resistance. His every gesture reminds us that power without calm is merely noise, and that true mastery is not to fight the universe, but to move with it. Whis' bond with Beerus deepens this theme. Their friendship, though built on the foundation of hierarchy, is tinged with affection. Beerus may grumble in command, but Whis humors him with the patience of an older brother. Their small moments sharing meals, napping beneath alien trees, discussing dreams of power carry a warmth that transcends rank. Through them, we see that even gods are not immune to companionship, and that eternity feels shorter when shared. When Whis watches Goku and Vegeta spar, there is a calm pride in his expression. He knows they may one day surpass the gods themselves, and he welcomes it. To an angel, power is not a threat but a continuation, the universe finding new ways to express itself. Each student who grows is proof that the cosmos is still alive, still dreaming. Whis teaches not to control, but to awaken. As night falls across the divine realms, Whis often stands at the edge of a distant world, his staff glowing faintly with light from a nearby star. The silence around him is perfect, yet never empty. Somewhere, mortals laugh, planets spin, and gods argue over food. He listens to it all, content. The universe hums in rhythm, and for Whis, that is enough. His purpose is not to rule or to change, but simply to keep that music from fading. In the end, Whis remains one of Dragon Ball's most serene mysteries, a being beyond power, who finds joy in the smallest things, a teacher who asks for no thanks, a guardian who needs no praise. His wisdom drifts like a lullaby through the story, reminding us that strength without peace is incomplete, and that in stillness we may find the infinite. At the summit of all creation, far beyond the reaches of galaxies and gods, sits a small, childlike being known as Zeno. His round eyes shimmer like twin stars, and his voice, though high and sweet, carries the weight of existence itself. He is the Omni-King, ruler of all universes, keeper of balance, and silent witness to eternity. And yet, when you look at him, there is something almost innocent there. The power that can erase reality comes wrapped in the laughter of a child. Zeno's world is one of impossible stillness. The grand priest attends him at all times, watching with quiet reverence as he plays with blocks of color that, in truth, are galaxies. When Zeno moves a hand, universes tremble. When he sighs, creation pauses. It is not anger or intent that guides him, merely impulse. He acts as a child would, curious and unfiltered, shaping and unshaping existence with the same ease that a mortal might arrange toys. Those who meet Zeno for the first time are always struck by contrast. They expect a presence that blazes with divine majesty, yet instead they find warmth and simplicity. He smiles easily, speaks softly, and listens with care. But within that gentle expression lies a truth that makes even gods bow low. There is nothing he cannot erase. To Zeno, the destruction of a universe is not cruelty. It is correction, a rebalancing of chaos that mortals can never comprehend. When Goku first encountered Zeno, it was as if two extremes had met: the purest innocence of mortal will and the purest innocence of divine power. Goku's openness, his lack of fear or formality, delighted the Omni-King. In him, Zeno found something rare, someone who spoke not to a god but to a friend. Their bond, simple as it was, would shape the fate of all worlds. For the first time, the Omni-King had someone who treated him as an equal, someone who smiled back without trembling. The tournament of power was born from that friendship. What began as a game in Zeno's eyes became one of the greatest events in the history of all creation. Universes gathered, warriors fought, and the very laws of existence bent under his gaze. Throughout it all, Zeno watched in quiet fascination, his small hands clapping whenever something amazed him. To him, the struggle was art sparks of life, flaring brightly before fading back into peace. Each elimination, each burst of energy, was a fleeting note in a cosmic melody. And yet, even as universes vanished, there was no hatred in Zeno's heart. He erased not to punish but to reset, like a painter sweeping aside a canvas to begin again. In his presence, the vastness of creation feels both infinite and fragile. He reminds all who see him that nothing is permanent, not stars, not gods, not even the stories we tell. Everything, eventually, returns to quiet. The grand priest, his calm and devoted attendant, understands this truth better than anyone. His role is to interpret Zeno's will, to maintain order in the wake of unimaginable power. Where Zeno is emotion, the grand priest is structure. Together, they form the final balance, chaos and clarity entwined. The priest's tone is always soft, his movements graceful, but behind those calm gestures lies an understanding deeper than any mortal can imagine. He knows that Zeno is not cruel because he does not know cruelty. He is simply the echo of creation itself, the beginning and the end joined as one. Zeno's innocence can be disarming. He plays, he giggles, he forgets. Yet within that naivety lies a reflection of something ancient and pure, the nature of the universe before intention. The Omni King acts without reason because reason is a mortal thing. To him, the cosmos is a single, endless dream. When one dream fades, another begins, and he moves between them like a child turning pages in a book. There is a strange peace in that idea. For all the fear his power inspires, Zeno's presence brings a reminder that creation is not static. It is movement cycles of birth and erasure, woven together by the hands of beings who may not even know why they create. To mortals, this truth is terrifying. To gods, it is humbling. But to Zeno, it is simply the way things are. Even the mightiest among the divine bow before him, yet Goku stands beside him with ease. Their friendship shows that innocence can bridge even the vastest divides. When Goku promised to play with Zeno, to bring him joy in his eternal solitude, it was more than a gesture. It was an act of kindness across the boundaries of existence. For a being who could erase everything with a wave, a single friend meant more than all the universes combined. And perhaps that is the quiet lesson Zeno offers, that power without companionship is emptiness, and eternity without laughter is a kind of still death. He watches the worlds, not as a tyrant, but as a dreamer, forever curious about the stories unfolding below. When he laughs, stars seem to twinkle a little brighter. When he grows silent, time itself hesitates, as if waiting for his next thought to shape the path ahead. In the end, the Omni King is neither good nor evil, neither merciful nor cruel. He is balance personified, the still heartbeat of the multiverse. To know him is to understand that everything, no matter how vast or powerful, will one day return to quiet. But within that quiet lies the potential for everything to begin again. As the story of Dragon Ball stretches across time and space, Zeno remains at its highest point, watching with gentle wonder. Perhaps he does not fully grasp the meaning of the lives that flicker below, or perhaps he understands them more deeply than any being ever could. In either case, his gaze is constant, a soft light at the edge of infinity, and somewhere, in the endless silence of his palace, Zeno hums a little tune to himself, the echoes of existence drifting like dust through the air. Worlds rise and fall, heroes fight and rest, stars burn and fade and still. The child god smiles, for in his heart there is no fear of endings, only the soft assurance that endings are just the beginning of another dream.